Hello and welcome to another episode of the Everything's Been Done podcast, Conversations in Cycling Subculture. I'm your host, Dustin Klein, and today's episode is brought to you by the EBD Gear Shop. We've got prints, we've got t-shirts, we've got shoes, stickers, and more. Everything you could ever want at the EBD Gear Shop. Link and all that hoopla down below. Today's guest is a very humble, very strong, very dedicated cyclist. He has gone through some life transformations. He has a pure perspective on life, just a solid all-around dude. I'm very excited to talk to him and share some of his perspective with you. You can find him on Instagram at AbePDXTaco. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Abdulrahman Alkhamees. Abdulrahman, thank you for being here for the very first time.
Well, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.
We're going to try something a little different here. We're just going to start in with some questions to try and get to the root of who Mr. Alkhamees is. All right, first question. Given the choice of anyone in the world, whom would you want to have as a dinner guest?
Man. Well, that's easy. Prince.
Oh, whoa, Prince. I don't know if I would have. That's cool.
Yeah. He seems like such a cool dude. Like, he has a lot of good stories, I feel like, Also, I don't know, looking at his interviews and, growing up, it seems like just a cool dude. I don't know. I want to get to know Prince, but it's too late now.
Yeah. Do you play music at all?
I used to play a couple of instruments just like for, shits and giggles, just like to get time to pass. I used to play the bass. I was terrible at it, but it was fun,
No way. Aspirations of being a young cymbal when you grew up?
Yeah, I still believe that the coolest I could be is probably become like a bassist to some like unknown band that nobody's gonna hear about.
That could still happen.
That could still happen.
Hey, that's kind of a good segue into this question. Would you like to be famous? If so, in which way?
No, dude. I want to remain under the radar. Like,
so maybe that's why the bass career never quite took off.
Exactly. Like I want somebody like 20 years from now and be like, you guys don't understand what type of, ingenious this dude was doing. I was like just playing the bass like normal,
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I was just jamming and be like, no, Abe was like the shit.
Just reinventing music. Just like,
Yeah.
What? I didn't even know that. This question's kind of stupid, but I'm going to ask it. Before making a telephone call, which nobody does anymore, would you ever rehearse what you were going to say?
If I'm talking to my dad, yeah.
Oh, really?
Sometimes, yeah.
Is he pretty like by the book?
No, my dad is not a chatterbox, believe it or not. So I didn't get him from him. But I try to think about like, oh, well, what is he going to talk about this time? Is it about the car or is it the climate? Or, just it runs through my head.
Yeah. Like, do you feel like you got to try to get him talking or keep him talking?
Yeah, exactly. Because he'll cut right straight to the point, and be like, just a one-word answer. He's not angry or anything like that, but that's just his personality sometimes.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. You're like, so how are things? Well.
Yeah.
Okay, they're well. All right. Yeah. Do you have a pretty good relationship with your parents?
Oh, yeah, I do. I love them.
That's so good. Cool. Very cool.
They're good buddies of mine, so,
Oh, sick. You guys talk on the phone often?
Oh, I mean, if I don't call them more than, once a week, there's something wrong. I'm either that or just forgotten about them. So I have to call them at least once a week. So
no way. That's
it's
cool.
kind of weird not to.
Well, yeah, because the habit has been established.
Exactly.
Yeah, that sounds like a good healthy scenario, pattern to have. All right, let's try this one. What would constitute a perfect day for you?
A perfect day?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Waking up before the sunrise, doing a quick sunrise ride, coming back, making breakfast hash, which is my favorite breakfast. By then, I would have my second cup of coffee, do a couple of projects, play the vinyl, I'll have the records spinning, just playing some music in the background. I don't know, just like doing something. I always seem to find myself doing something. Which is kind of good. So that is like the perfect day. It's just like from start to finish, I'm like doing something.
I'm not going to let you slide on doing something. That's a very blanket statement. Doing something can be everything in the world.
That's a good point. I do like to, just Google stuff about whatever I'm interested in, like Instructables.
Cool.
With that website, I like checking that out a lot. I'm not gonna lie, I do get sucked into the Instagram vortex of like aimlessly, just scrolling. So that happens. I don't know. That's a good point. Like sometimes, like time. I mean, does time exist in 2020? I think the concept of time is like obsolete. Like.
I mean, it's all on how you choose to use that tool. I guess I kind of think of time as a tool or as a block for the day, and you can do a lot of things with that. You can do nothing and it'll feel very ambiguous, but you could fill it up with projects and appointments and things like kind of, one part personality, one part circumstance.
Oh, dude, how could I forget? I cook a ton. Yeah, that's where most of my time actually is. Just if I'm in the house, I'm just like always cooking.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, I'm always cooking.
So cooking for you, is it based off of recipes or from just off the hip?
Sometimes, I have these recipes where I call them the bottom drawer pasta. Whatever I have at the bottom drawer of my, produce drawer, I just turn it to pasta. So you have that. And some days where I, go out to the grocery store, chat with the butcher, chat with the cheese guys, I love to have that relationship. So it takes me at least an hour and a half to 2 hours when I go shopping. I feel like a retired person, honestly. Go and talk to everybody, check the meat section, be like, oh, this is good.
Gary.
I don't go to just Freddy's right next to me. I go to TJ's, Freddy's. Sometimes I go to like a specialty store. Just I don't know. It's about the journey for me.
I feel like you, being such a big cook, you would have maybe like weirder ride food than you have. I don't recall you having anything too wacky. Or is there? Am I missing?
What do you mean?
Like what kind of, do you make your ride food?
Right. Oh yeah, dude. I used to make a lot of burritos. Inspired by your video, actually, I was like, oh.
Oh, really? Sick.
Yeah. Instead of using foil and all that jazz, I started making burritos. I forgot what I'm carrying these days. Man.
Like you just did a crazy big ride last weekend. You did like 170-mile loop around Mount Rainier.
Mount Hood.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mount Hood. And it was like a 12-hour ride or something?
Yeah, I think the total was 188 miles with over 14,000 feet. We left at right around 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 to be exact, and we got back around 10:30. For that ride, I actually didn't bring any prepared food for some strange reason, which is weird now that I think about it. I did have, I think, 3 fritters on me, 3 apple fritters.
You love apple fritters.
Dude, I love fritters. They're just so good. I mean, especially when they're all warmed up from the sun or if you
or your pocket.
Yeah. Have you ever experienced the joy of having a warm peanut butter, one of those like Justin's peanut butter sacks, like in the middle of the winter after you pull it from your jersey?
Oh, good call.
It's just so good.
Yeah, I have experienced that, and I think maybe like subconsciously it's like, oh, this is a little, kind of like a little pleasure, like but it didn't. I think it was overridden by the misery of whatever situation I was in. i.e. my existence. No.
Yeah.
Well, I think it makes sense that you might not have made food for the hood ride, because sometimes making the food is just like so much more prep. You know, make the food, get the bike, make sure you wake up at 2 a.m. or whatever crazy shit you do.
Yeah. I mean, so much of it. No, I think about that ride. I thought about that ride throughout the week. I was like, that was such an interesting ride, because I just, got in touch with Garrett and I was like, yo, you want to ride it on Sunday? And he was like, yeah, sure. I was like, sweet, I'll see you Sunday, 4:30.
Wow.
And I usually kind of like, think about it. It's at the back of my head. So I tend to go to the store, prep for it, and mentally, I guess, slightly be concerned about it, like make sure that I leave on time and get back on time. But that ride just seemed like, I don't know. It just happened. Like, I just asked him and he said, yeah, we just went. So I picked up whatever I had in my house and just left.
Wait, how long before did you ask him?
I think it was like either Thursday or Friday or something like that.
Okay, like yeah, that's pretty tight.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like 2 or 3 days. Be like, hey, you feel like doing a 12-hour bike ride on Sunday?
Yeah.
I feel like we should give a little context for people. So you were born in Kuwait, and you came to America for university and stuff, and you made your way to Portland eventually, which was a place that you've actually been connected to. You had a draw to Portland for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And then in Portland, that's where you basically, I don't want to say, started cycling, got serious about cycling.
That would be a valid statement.
Like cycling came into your life after you moved to Portland.
Definitely, yeah.
And then at that point, Abe was 340 pounds, which I had no idea that this was the same person. So the fact that it really, from what I've gathered, is moving to Portland completely changed your whole life.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And that is so
amazing. It's amazing how, like, a geographical location can help you achieve all of that,
Very well put. Did you know that could happen? Like a location could alter your life so dramatically?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I didn't know, but I had faith in it. Like, so there's a piece of poetry that I loved as a kid, and I still love, by an Arabic poet. It's super short, but the meaning of the poem is just keep on traveling and just keep on moving. And there's a line that really stuck with me, that where he says, if the water stays still, it goes bad, it goes stale. So
yeah,
fresh, just keep on moving, So I feel like having that idea in the back of my head, I felt like I needed to maybe go to a place where literally has a lot of water. So I guess, like Portland, so there's always a movement. There's always something that inspires me to go and do something and go somewhere. And people that help me, see things in a different way that I've never thought about before. I don't know. There's like a sense of movement.
Yeah, and I feel like at one point you mentioned how, or this ties in, fear can be something that will stop people from making movement. And that's something that you've told me in the past, that you'll actually like press into that fear, or like the discomfort of something that's unknown or unfamiliar.
Yeah.
Can you kind of explain how that goes through in your mind?
I think for this context, for the context of me living here in the States specifically, as you mentioned before, like I have a finite amount of time, and we all do, right? But sometimes you forget about it. Not everybody thinks that maybe 50 years from now I'm going to be dead,
or next week,
right? It's not present in your head. But for me, I know for a fact that I have to leave the U.S. unless I satisfy certain requirements by a certain amount of time. So for me, I'm like, I'm not going to wait till then. I'm going to ride my legs off. So, I'm just going to ride till they fall off, basically. So I feel like that changed my perception of fear or discomfort or the comfort zone into something. I think I mentioned it to you as like people see difference or people see things like that as a deficit rather than a resource. So maybe I saw something clicked and I started seeing fear as a resource. You know,
I love this. Can you kind of explain that a little bit more? Like how would you teach like your son how to interact with fear differently? Like, because just saying, oh, it just flipped. Like, got it. Like, where's the switch? Like, where's the switch?
That's a good point. I don't know if I can answer the question right away, but for me, I feel like the fact that I failed made it possible for me to realize that it doesn't mean the end. It means a new beginning to something else, or it means that I have less chances of messing it up next time. You know,
I like that.
You know what I'm saying? So maybe instead of like talking to somebody about fear, maybe you try to install in them like the love of like trying again and again and again and again, or not fearing trying again and again and again. I mean,
well, and I think that there's something there with I don't think the issue is trying again. I think that the hurdle, I would say, is failing. And when you fail, as we may or may not know personally, it's really frustrating and it doesn't feel good, and like I'll get angry and it's just like, fuck, this thing has gone wrong. Yeah. But it's almost like so what you're saying is like seeing that as an opportunity to be like, okay, it's like a learning experience. A mistake is an opportunity to learn.
Definitely.
And maybe what I'm gathering is to, yes, that emotional spike of discomfort, it's kind of inevitable. Like, just let it be. Don't necessarily play into it, but know through that smoke or that fog of frustration that what you actually see beyond that is a new chance, is a new opportunity, is actually like you've like stepped up a stair and a stair and a stair.
I guess I was never, I mean, it's not like I was always like that. I mean, it's a learning curve. But I tend to ask myself sometimes, if I get angry, where is that going to get me? I mean, nowhere. I mean, I'm just going to be angry, going to be pissed off, fuming, and that's probably going to be the end of the day. But maybe I learned that from cycling. When you get like cut off by somebody or somebody tries to, I don't know, ram into you somehow with their car.
Or the pickups, they'll rev their engine. There's a ton of limitless examples.
Right. If I'm out riding 100 miles and on mile 50, somebody tries to do something, of that sort, I'm not just going to turn around and be like, fuck it, I'm just going to go home. This is shitty. And I'm just like, no, I'm going to go continue on. So I'm not sure if I'm hitting the bullseye right here.
Yeah, it's okay. So even that traffic scenario, I love this one because it's so simple, is so are you consciously, so the knee-jerk reaction to that like honk is to be like, fuck you. It's like, it's just like this, we're like afraid because like our lives are we're so vulnerable, and then it's like, how dare you? But I feel like you're not necessarily the person that's doing that, like the knee-jerk reaction, the fuck you, like, you dick, like, you'll kind of just, how will you deal with that scenario?
For me, I'm guilty of, that exactly, but...
I love hearing that because that shows you're human. I appreciate that, but I don't think that's how you normally respond. Like, it's not so much in your disposition.
Like, for example, somebody actually a few weeks back literally brushed me off with his, car on Decom headed out to Marine Drive. I was shocked by my own response to him because I usually kind of, be angry for a second and try to resolve the situation right away. But that day, just something was weird. Like, he was the one who blew up, and I was like, this is not about me.
Right. It's never about you. It's always about the other person.
Exactly. So I was like, I don't know. This is not about me. I just, double checked that everything was working fine, and went on my way. But I think maybe that made me realize that, had I responded to that differently, I might have had like a different outcome, something worse.
Right, because he was like, trigger happy. He was just waiting for someone to.
Something, yeah. So yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, so it does seem like it. No one's really impervious to that like rush of anger, and it really is about like I always think of it as like a ball of fire. Like it's just like they swerve at you, they knock you off the road, they're throwing a ball of fire at you. And you catch it and you're like, what do you do with this?
Yeah.
The easiest thing to do is throw it right back. But it's almost like if you just hold it for a second, it just like disappears. Well, maybe like a minute.
Yeah. It depends on the situation. I've been in situations where I've been fuming for hours,
Yes. Yes.
I forgot who was talking about that. There's like something, I'm not sure if it's spiritual or anything like that, but I hear a lot of talk about channeling that energy, from anger to something else,
How do you do this?
I don't know, just be mindful, just being aware of it. Because in reality, Dustin, like, we don't know what we don't know, right?
Okay.
So until something happens that makes you realize that you didn't know this thing, you didn't know that I can channel this anger into something else, I feel like you have to go through that first.
So, So almost just like we might as well experiment with it because we don't know what we could be accessing.
Exactly.
Interesting. Oh, I like your perspective is so good. It's so clean is what I want to say. I like this.
I'm trying to remember where I got this from, honestly.
I mean, it doesn't really even matter, too. Thousands of years of Eastern religion, like
it might be Avatar, because
That's tight. Totally. Hey, I always say I get it where I can get it. Like, I don't give a fuck if it's like Dora the Explorer or like Siddhartha, like whatever.
Oh, man.
Let's see. We'll go back to the list. These seem to be good for sparking something. If you could change anything about the way you were raised, what would it be? And I'm not really reading these before. I'm just picking them. So if they're too weird, just say like, I don't know. No.
One thing I would change, probably the location.
Oh yeah, right. We keep coming back to this. Location is really a big one for you.
Yeah, I felt that the biggest block in the road for me was the geographical location that I was at. It's just very, very limiting. At least to the things that I want to do. I mean, there's always so many things that you can do. You will find something to do regardless of where you are, right?
Okay, this is good. I love this. So I also completely relate. Grew up in Fargo, North Dakota. It just didn't have the things I was interested in.
Yeah.
Part of me, devil's advocate, wants to say, well, why not just work with the resources that you have? Do the best with what you've got. 100%, absolutely. But I think there's a certain amount of like appreciating or living to your true potential that being in another place helps you access.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. It goes back to that poem that I was referencing in the beginning. He mentions, that poem mentions something about, you need to travel in order to find out, and he didn't specify to find out things because, your immediate, you get so numb to your immediate, like context that you're living in that you didn't realize there were so many other things outside. It's interesting when I talk to strangers, for example, at coffee shops, I learn a lot from them. Even the small talk, you learn a lot from small talk, I've noticed personally, than like sitting down with somebody and talking about one thing, for example, I don't know. There's just something interesting about going out and exploring. Curiosity, I guess it kind of links back to curiosity maybe. So I was curious about what's outside of the region that I grew up at, you know?
I want to touch back on the small talk thing. I love your perspective on this. So often I hear people say, "Oh, I fucking hate small talk. It's so pointless. It's this and that." And it's like, yo, you need to have small talk to get to big talk. Like, you can't just like, you got to have foreplay before you get to the good stuff. Like, it. So I like that your like relationship to small talk is so open. And you like, can you even like kind of walk me? Are you just like talk about something and then just kind of see where it leads, or are you trying to be like, oh, I'm curious what's up with this person?
You know, most of the time I'm just guilty of eavesdropping on implicitly. Implicitly, like I just they get my attention talking about something, you know. And I don't want to say I'm nosy, but I'm really really outgoing. That I find it enjoyable reaching out to, you know, people like, oh hey yeah, you know, blah blah blah. Minnesota or something like that. But it mostly happens like I love it when it happens in airports because you meet people from like all over the world. You know,
Cool.
I remember meeting somebody. I think it was my second time going back, or first time going back home, and she was on my flight. She was sitting right next to me. You know, we ended up chatting, and I was like, "Hey, where are you going?" She's like, "I was going to Russia." She was going to Russia for the 2016 Winter Olympics, and
Oh.
we talked about it. She explained it. It was really interesting what she was doing, and then like a couple of weeks later, I hear about the Olympics, Winter Olympics. I was like, "Oh, that that lady. She's I don't know. That it's interesting. Like I wouldn't have known about that in depth without talking to her, for example. Or there's like a connection to it. You know, I don't know. It's interesting. Or sometimes you talk about where you're going, and people like tell you about places that they've been to, which is typical. You know, or somehow you find out that the world is smaller than you think. You know, they might know somebody that you know. I'm rambling right now.
No, this is great. It's almost like that drive for you seems like it's this inherent sense of curiosity. Like you're just kind of you're very open and just intrigued by what is this person like. It doesn't sound like there's a lot of like walls or judgment. It's more like doors are open and you're like, oh, what can you like? How can we learn from each other almost?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, as I said, I keep on. I love telling people that, especially my friends, that they have such a big effect on my life that I just can't put into words. Like I learn a lot by watching people, by talking to them, more than they can think. Like, I mean, people are just like they're not just vessels filled with information walking around. No, I mean, there's like new perspectives that I never knew about.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Bill Nye said that you'll always meet somebody who knows more than you do.
100%. So that goes for cycling too.
Yes,
There's
exactly.
always someone faster. There's always someone stronger. There's always,
Yeah.
that's like a humbling thing.
I want to find that person and I want to know what they know. It's not because I want to know more than about them, more than they do. I just want to know what they have. I mean, just curious.
But that's everybody, because everybody has so many different experiences that inevitably they've been focusing on this weird nerdy subculture of cycling for way too fucking long, and they know a lot of shit about it, and nobody else understands it, and they're like, you do what? And you wear what? For how long? What?
Yeah.
But it's like the table tennis version, or the like gardening version, or the whatever. And we'll never know it all too. That fucking like,
I mean,
that one trips me out.
There's so much out there and there's so little time. So maximize as much as you can.
Without getting overwhelmed.
Definitely.
Yeah, just just try to. Yeah, it's always I say this all the time. It's balance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, be intrigued. Don't get overwhelmed. Like,
Yeah.
pack your lunch, drink your water, take a break, work hard. Like, not too hard, just hard enough.
Uh,
Let's see. Let's try. We'll go back to the story things or the questions. If you could wake up tomorrow having gained one quality or ability, what would it be?
oh man, speak another language. I would love.
Oh, that is hilarious. Because you already have a master's degree in linguistics. Which you,
Yeah.
maybe I said that wrong, but basically, and he just finished this like a couple months ago.
A couple months ago, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks. That was a journey. Yeah, I would love to speak another language. Man, can you imagine? We were just talking about that. I can talk to more people. I can know more perspectives. I get. I get. I mean, I get to understand a whole nother culture, and you know, so.
I'm curious of how, because you're so receptive to this, the different culture, whatever. So how has it been for you? I don't even know exactly what this question is. Growing up in Kuwait, living so intensely in America, like you're kind of able to get these two cultures very intimately and so differently. How's that kind of changed your perception?
Of what?
I don't know. Like, I'm just curious to know these two cultures so well, and it's essentially what you're saying. If you could learn another one, so basically what I'm saying is you've already done this kind of once, and now it can be kind of hard to like pull back. Like, oh yeah, I do know these this whole other culture, being America for you.
Yeah.
And maybe it's too big of a question. Like, how has that like affected and changed your reality?
Well, I feel like it gave me so many tools that I can use to A, gain information, B, enjoy the culture and learn from the people themselves. And I mean, you're right. It's too big of a question in order to answer fully. But for me, I don't think of like my philosophy on language and my philosophy on information. It goes against the philosophy of boxing it into different things. Like, oh, I have a box for the Kuwaiti culture. I have a box for the U.S. culture. Because it gets too messy too quickly. Because when I say I have a box for the U.S. culture, it's like, which one are we talking about?
Cool.
You know, so many.
Totally.
So for me, it's just a single box. Of resources that I just keep on dumping things into to be like, I have this much information about all that I know. So and I just so for me, it's just going to be another thing that I'm going to put in that box that is either information or tools, I guess. This is reminding me a lot of what we study, honestly.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because we think a lot about how the brain works, with respect to language and society and how you learn the language. I mean, you don't learn the language. We can talk about learning the language biologically. We can talk about learning a language psychologically, right? There's so many things that happens. It's just a one piece of the puzzle. And I forgot what I was going with this, but you're always constantly thinking about so many pieces, and you're seeing how they're connected.
That was like a perfect equivalent answer to my weird question. It was like a very abstract question, and I got a very abstract answer. You get what you pay for here. This is so in line with what you've talked about already. What do you value most in a friendship?
What I value most of the friendship, honestly, just the time. Definitely spending the time with someone is so valuable to me. Because in reality, most of the time we're by ourselves or with somebody that we cohabitate with, right? Families or partners or whoever. So I don't know. I've valued it even more here in the States because everybody's busy. Everybody has their own schedule. It's some sort of an individualistic society. Whereas back home, you're never alone. Oh
wow! Really?
Mm-hmm. It's hard. You have to try to be alone. You don't have to try hard to be with someone.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Which do you prefer, being with people or being alone?
It depends on the day and the hour.
Right, you're human. It's a little bit of both.
Yes, I love eating with people. Uh, I've had lunch and dinners almost on a daily basis with my parents, my siblings, sometimes my extended family. At least once a week with my extended family, but almost every day with my siblings and my parents. Uh,
Through FaceTime or something?
Back then,
Oh, when you were there. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And then what about now? Do you try to do those share meals with people, consciously try to share meals with people now in
Always,
America?
always. I mean, I've been guilty of overfeeding people because, just hang out and we're constantly talking, and I just, scoop some rice or whatever I'm making that night into their plate without them seeing.
They just keep eating.
Just keep on eating because we're having fun. We're eating, drinking whatever we're drinking, kombucha.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, that's a thing too. What is it? You've never drinking or had a cigarette in your whole life? Is that you?
Yeah, I guess do they call it like a straight edge? Is that
Yeah, that is it's like a subculture term.
like a straight edge?
You know, for life too.
Life.
Yeah, dedicated. Okay, let's see. Alternate. No,
Are you like on a website or something?
maybe.
Maybe.
Well, this one I already kind of know. This one. I don't know. Maybe this one.
No,
Was that?
you might know, but the audience might not know.
Well, based off of what you've been talking about, but I'll read it. It was how close and warm is your family? Oh, and then it's a two-part. Do you feel your childhood was happier than most people? Ooh, it almost a little could be a heavy one for some people.
It could be a heavy one. I don't know. Honestly, my childhood was pretty average. You know,
Yeah.
it's pretty average. Growing up in extremely hot weather. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that's the heat. Holy, do you miss that at all?
Not a bit. I
Yeah.
love it when it gets cold. That is my vibe. Like I love it when I have to put on multiple layers.
Wow. Even when you lived in Minnesota, even that cold?
Oh man, that was freezing cold. I loved it, but I didn't want to spend that much time outside. But it was still kind of interesting, right?
Yeah, it's hard to be outside. That's true.
Yeah, seeing snow for the first time was in Minnesota. I remember it was a Sunday night. I went to bed and it was completely normal outside. Monday morning we had over 7 inches of snow, and it was mind blowing. Seeing all the whole region around me just turn white.
Did you go out while it was snowing at all?
Oh yeah, I took out my Subi that I owned back then. And just went out drifting with a buddy of mine.
Oh, that's cool.
Isn't
Did
it
you?
like a Midwestern thing to do? Like go and drift in the snow?
I don't know. Probably, which is funny because I don't know. One thing I always really loved about when it's like thick snowflakes and it's falling, the sound is so crazy because the whole environment is like a soft. Well, it's not a soft box, but sound it doesn't bounce because everything's soft, so it's like really quiet.
Yeah.
Do you remember noticing that at all?
No, I don't think I paid attention to that. But I think now that I know, I will pay attention to it. It's marked in my brain. Yes.
Yeah, and it's like a certain type of snow too. So it's the environment has to be this right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll let you know next time I go to Minnesota.
Yeah. You're like, no, I don't want to go back. Let's see. Oh, what's your most treasured memory?
So many of them I can't choose. You got to give me an age.
Oh, okay. 22. Can it be that? That sounds. I wouldn't know shit. But it's specifically that age.
I think 22. I was packing and leaving Tampa and moving to Minnesota. So maybe that road trip.
Ah, yeah. New horizons, exciting time.
Just being on the road, going through all the towns, eating all the amazing food on the road, Stopping in Nashville, checking out, the historic monuments and all that.
That's cool. Yeah. Wait, for some reason I suddenly want to ask you again about when you changed your body. I still can't get over the fact that you completely transformed your body. And you just did it from just riding your bike. Like did you notice where you're like, wait a minute, I'm like losing weight?
I don't know, honestly. I think.
Have you realized that this has happened? Maybe we should start there.
I think the biggest indicator was the fact that I started buying more belts than I used to.
Wow.
I was like, I wanted to have a couple of belts instead of none. So I was like, and then I realized that my pants were falling off because I literally lost half of my weight.
Right. Like, were you surprised that this was happening? Were you like, what's going on?
I wasn't surprised as much as I was just kind of preoccupied with whatever was happening, like, hiking, cycling, backpacking, all of that. It was never present in my head. I think it was something that other people kind of alluded to. Like when I talked to my parents, my mom is kind of terrified, looking at my face, was like, "Are you
right?" She's like, "You're not eating enough." Classic mom.
Yeah. So
you're like, "Mom, I'm eating enough. Trust me."
Yeah, I think it just happened implicitly on my end.
I love it and the reason I keep asking about it is I feel like, there's people that are maybe like a little bit overweight and they want to lose weight, and it's like, how do you do it? And I fucking love your story. If you're like, I was just basically obsessed with like physical activities, riding bikes, hiking, backpacking, and it just sort of happened because you still eat a ton, like, and it's almost like I like how you said this before. What do you ride to eat and eat to ride?
Yeah, I think I saw it on someone was wearing a jersey that said that, and I was like, I love it.
Yeah, I feel like that is kind of it's almost just like the byproduct of cycling too, because when you ride a ton, you're just like needing to eat all the time.
Yeah. I think, I don't want to say it's an adaptation to my environment, but it might as well been that, right? Because the spirit of Portland and Oregon is like kind of being active. It encourages you. It's like riding. I mean, when you ride your Cervelo that's, 15 pounds, all you want to do is go fast,
Yeah.
But when I'm riding my gravel bike, I just want to relax. And I think I kind of get into the zone of the environment itself. It's just, all of that kind of pushes me towards that product that I ended up being, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. I love it. And actually, maybe you should tell us about the biggest ride you've ever done, so we get a little context on how crazy this dude went into cycling, and is still in. As just a side note, his Strava right now, his average for the last 4 weeks is 295 miles a week.
Yeah.
21 hours. And for 2020, his climbing is it's bigger than that. 452,000 feet of elevation. I don't even understand that number. You're just like throwing numbers. I'm like, what does that mean?
I honestly, like 21 hours a week doesn't seem that much, right? I mean, how many hours a week do we have?
That's a good question. Because like how many waking hours, right? How many hours are we awake a day?
I wake up.
Oh, it's 24 minus 8. Are you quick with numbers?
No.
You know who is Seppi? He'd be like, it's like 38 and a half by 5/16. He's like, that.
Oh, man.
I mean, we can figure it out, but
that's why. No, I don't know. But it doesn't seem like that's too much, right? I don't know. Man, if I had the time, I would go even further.
Wow.
Longer. But I've been super busy lately, just with the whole situation. So it's whatever I can do.
Wait, tell us about the biggest ride you've ever done. I want to hear that story.
I've ever done. I was inspired by, the Randonneers and their story and all that. And I just wanted to be able to ride 300 miles in 24 hours. So I looked at the multiple routes, and the one that seemed to be the best, which ended up being the worst in my opinion, was riding from Portland to Eugene and back. So we were basically scoping the valley, the Willamette Valley. But, I mean, that could be a really troubling ride because the wind will be the biggest killer. And it was.
How much elevation was on that?
Supposedly it was supposed to be like 8,000 feet, which is super.
Very palatable.
Yeah, I mean,
for 300 miles.
300 miles, right? But I think it ended up being more than that for the full thing. Which Garrett is a freaking monster. He finished the whole thing.
Oh, he did it.
He did. He finished the whole thing. He ended up riding 345 miles that day.
45. He added 45.
Mm-hmm. 345 miles.
Fuck.
Yeah. So.
Wow. How long? And you got to, what did you end up at? So say again? 270. That's insane. And then how long was that? Do you remember?
So we left at midnight on Saturday. We met around 11:45 on Friday.
Right.
Friday. Yeah. And then we rode down to Salem. That took us around 5 hours, I think. And from Salem all the way to Eugene, that's when the shit hit the fan because the wind started picking up and then rain came out of nowhere. We're talking about, when it rains so hard that you can't even see the person in front of you? It was raining that hard. But here's the catch. It wasn't like 60 degrees or lower. It was 85 degrees.
Whoa.
Rain. So you couldn't put your jacket on because you're gonna sweat on the inside, right? So it was weird. It was a weird day. But luckily by the time we got to Eugene, we got clear skies. The wind died down. We got I think everybody ate like a total of 5 pizzas or something that day.
Wait, how many people were with you?
3.
Okay. 5 pizzas between 3 people. That's fucking intense.
There were the 12-inch ones.
Cool.
So
I'm thinking like giant pizzas.
Oh no, that'd be terrible, man. Can't imagine the pit stops. It was so Garrett, Kevin from Pedal PT, and I.
Sick.
Yeah. The first half was I thought was the worst, but it's the second half that kind of killed us all. Everybody went into their own valley and zoned out. But it's amazing how we kind of all pulled each other through it. It wasn't easy, but it had to be done because we had another 150 miles to go.
Dude. Then did you get, not that this really matters, but you had to get a ride then, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you like got home and then they did some other thing. I don't know. Okay.
No.
Yeah. It was just like, yeah, it's that line of like safety to pushing yourself.
Yeah. I think we talked about it where we boiled it down to like, should I or could I, I mean, because you're asking yourself, can I do it? You're asking, I think when you ask yourself that question, you're trying to figure out how far you can go. But when you ask yourself, should I do this? You're trying to ask yourself, should I risk it? Should I risk my, health for this? And I think I got into that fork and I decided to go left, I guess. So should I? And I didn't.
Which is, I think it's great to know your edge, and your edge is way the hell out there too.
I want to push it still. Like, I mean, what would be really, really cool? Doing the Paris-Brest-Paris. Like that is such a cool ride.
How long is that? Is it 325 or something?
Oh no, it's 1,200 kilometers, so 770 miles, I think. Uh,
Holy shit.
yeah, the guys crushed it last year. Uh, reading their reflection on it was so amazing.
700-mile bike ride.
Yeah, and like a little bit over 50 hours or something. That is
Dude,
that's
that's
superhuman.
that sounds so horrible. Honestly. That there's a I hear that and I think, fuck, no thank you. And you hear that and you're like, "Oh, that is possible."
I think about all the croissants and fritters that I can eat, throughout the
Unlimited.
unlimited, dude. It just eat your weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, have you ever had the thing happen when you're going on big rides and you basically like eat too much sugar? I mean, I guess it's
Yeah.
kind of like bonking, but it's like a weird version of bonking. You
Yeah.
get like hollowed out from it or something.
I know exactly what we're talking about. It's just I think it's part of the reason that I stopped eating sugar as much as I used to on rides, because I'm not sure who mentioned this, but like it gives you the spike of power, and then when you crash harder.
Hard. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good pick.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, but you got to be careful with them because they'll bite you. Like you can't, dude, even like I don't even understand like a 300-mile day. It's almost like you don't want to like hit sugar too soon because it can like just ruin the rest of the day.
Man, I think I kept a list of what I brought with me. All I can remember right now is I think I brought 4 fritters that wanted to eat every 50 miles. Brought a lot of cheese, those
Oh,
small
that's cool.
tiny ones, the circle ones,
Bellas or something.
something like that.
Yeah.
Lots of nuts and bars and just real food, like nothing too sporty. I did have a couple of I call them emergency packs, the espresso ones. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, the goose?
Goose, yes. With
Yeah, I've heard those there's like a lot of mixed things on that. Sometimes those can be kind of dangerous.
the thing I like about them is that some of them have like 50 grams or 50 milligrams of caffeine.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's great.
so it's good to have caffeine in that form if you can find like decent coffee. Because I'd rather bonk than drink like really, really bad coffee.
Really?
Let's see if this shows up. It's
Uh,
I got this mug as a gift. It says Coffee Snob. It's because of how much shit I talk about bad coffee. But honestly, life's too short for bad coffee.
what's the coffee like in Kuwait?
Oh man. So my grandfather roasts coffee for the whole family.
Whoa,
Yeah,
cool.
pretty good at it. But coffee is super different. It's not black. It's mostly blonde, and you drink in these tiny cups, in shots.
Wait, what does blonde mean?
Blonde, it reflects the color, basically.
Of the bean or the drink?
Both of them, actually. The bean is
Whoa.
barely roasted.
Okay.
Uh,
Wow.
yeah, not black at all. So
Interesting. And then little shots and then cream?
no cream, no nothing.
Nothing. Just
The way my grandfather used to brew it is he would boil it with saffron and cardamom,
wow.
kind of like spice it up.
Yeah.
The closest coffee you can get to whatever people do back there is there's a local coffee shop called Kopi on Burnside, and they have a ginger infused coffee, like ginger and spice infused coffee, and it's pretty good.
Cool. Weird. Do you ever get that like for like a comfort food kind of vibe?
Not, I have his coffee in my fridge actually, which I
Oh, cool.
haven't touched in years, but not really.
I mean, the coffee in Portland's pretty legit. So
It's amazing. I mean, I'm not afraid to say that I'm addicted to it. It's
right.
so good.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's the hard part about leaving. There's a high standard here.
Oh, the bar is too high right now, honestly. But the third wave is like blowing up throughout the world, right?
True.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh. Maybe we should talk about the trucks real quick before we send this off. So Abe has this badass Tacoma that has a that has like a rooftop tent on the back, and he's ready to bug out at any moment on that thing.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, like, how you got into doing that kind of stuff.
Well, it's basically thanks to my family. I mean, we're always connected to the desert, whether by camping, going hunting, or do you call it like falconry? I guess. Have you ever?
Oh, whoa! Explain that.
So I used to like over the weekends during the winter, we would go out to our camp in the middle of the desert and would just hunt using falcons. We don't hunt wild animals. We have like pigeons that would just release, and it's some sort of like keeping up with the like the tradition of hunting with falcons. It's just so cool, you know.
So do you have like your own falcons? Do you rent a falcon? Like, how does it work?
So yeah, you have your own falcon that you get. You build this relationship with because you have to build trust with it. For the first few weeks or something like that, you have to close its eyes. Like, I mean, you have to like put this thing over its head.
Yeah, I totally know.
Where it kind of just recognizes you based on your voice. So you have to like establish that connection. So. I'm not really good at it. Like I was more of a spectator and observer rather than somebody who did it. But I was more interested in the going long and going far into the desert, exploring the oases around the peninsula, and just like the chill life. I guess it would be the gravel of cycling, if you know what I mean.
Or the gravel of what?
Gravel riding and cycling, it's all about like going slow and not going hard. It's all about exploring. I think it's
endurance. Yeah. But that is the equivalent to what?
My type of like overlanding, I guess, if you want to call it.
Got it.
Adventuring. It's about exploration and that. So yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you feel like you tie those two together like often?
Gravel riding and that.
Yeah, like now, from where you're at now with the setup you have.
Yeah, definitely. I used to just what do you call it? Mudding, go out mudding or something like that.
Yeah.
Honestly, out west in the Tillamook Range.
Totally.
Yeah, and I mean. And going out to Moab and hitting the trails and crawling and all. I mean, that's how I built the truck because I broke everything on it that I replaced. I remember destroying my front bumper going up this trail called Top of the World in Moab, which is amazing. It's worth breaking my front bumper for. So I broke it. Came back the next year with a steel bumper. Broke the rear. Came back with the following year with a steel bumper. So it was the product of the environment, I want to say. It was adapted to it.
But have you been like, we did one trip into the North Cascades where we, drove our rigs, camped out, and then we did a ride and stuff. But do you feel like you do those pretty often? Like use the truck as like a, I don't know how to say it, like a bug out point? Like build an adventure. Like, okay, today I'm gonna go out to the Olympic forest, find a dispersed spot, and then do like some ride from that, and then end up back in that place.
Yeah, I don't think I've done that intentionally. I think it was the truck came first, right?
Totally.
I was real interested in exploring, let's say the Olympic Peninsula using my truck, driving up and down forgotten forest roads. And then I realized that it's more fun to do that on the bike.
Totally.
The ONTM rides, they're so artistically made, the descents, the viewpoints, and all of that, that I feel like a bike is the better way to do it. But the best way to get out there is using a truck like that.
And then why not just stay in that environment? Like drive out the night before, use that as like the launching point.
Yeah, I mean it's a moving home, right? Especially
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I feel like it's almost like it gets overwhelming with the routing on doing those. Like
yeah.
I'm always like, I want to do this, but there's so much unknown with those like deep forest roads that like you could build a perfect route and you get out there and 5 miles into it, you're like, this doesn't work.
Yes, exactly.
So you're like, okay. But
Uh,
and then I guess at the same time, it kind of doesn't matter, right? You just ride around out there.
yeah, it beats leaving your house at 5 in the morning to get to the trailhead or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Uh,
Yeah.
at least you can park in the vicinity, and you can like what we did. We camped in a location where we didn't start from, even though we passed by our camp.
I
Uh,
wish we would have stayed. I still think it was stupid that we like drove to the start. I'm like, we're fucking parked on the route. Like, just drive. Right. That's why we're here. Like, just ride the route.
I think we agreed on ending with a descent rather than an uphill. Uh,
Yeah, I guess. I
yeah.
mean, whatever. I was pretty burnt out, so I was definitely happy to be descending.
Man, that was so much fun.
That was a good one. Yeah. What about mountain bike for you? Have you?
Oh, I love mountain biking. I don't
Do
own
you?
it.
Oh, okay. Have
Uh,
you ridden them?
Sorry.
Have you ridden them?
Oh yeah, dude. A
Oh,
couple weeks back, I think was the last time I went out to Timberline. Have you been to Timberline? Yeah, the park.
yeah. Nah, park. What do you
Oh
mean?
man, you got to check out the park. It's so awesome, dude.
Is it like jumps and all that?
I mean, only if you want. Only if you want to hit the black lanes, but the trails are so flowy and
There's
so
like
good.
everything. Oh.
Like 6 or 7 trails. I could be wrong, but there's so many trails that I can't count. Couldn't count them all. But yeah, I usually head out there with my buddy Evan, who got me. Who's actually one of the main people who got me into cycling. Actually, he was the one that introduced me to the professional or the like true recreational cycling like that we do right now. I used to ride my bike wearing shorts and a shirt, which is nothing. There's nothing wrong with that, but I feel like that kind of hinders you from like going further and longer. And
Totally.
yeah, uh, so he's still trying to get me to buy a mountain bike, but I don't think it's financially wise. Uh, but dude, it's so much fun. I highly recommend the park, or we could
So
do down.
do you rent a bike then when you're up there? Like what? Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know you could do. I should do that.
Yeah, dude. At least that way. The way I see it is that you can get the latest technology, for $80 a day. Because in reality, how many times are you going to go bike a year? For me, if I biked mountain bike like 5 times a year, that's still way cheaper than buying a mountain bike and maintaining it. You know. Oh
Yeah, I've heard there are a lot of maintenance.
yeah.
I don't know if that's true. It obviously is true because there's just more shit on them.
You're Richie, honestly. Don't you have a rigid?
I'm so sick of getting beat up on all these trails. I'm just like over it. Yeah, I just need to see what. Be like, oh, they built a whole industry for doing this stuff? Really? Yeah. So,
Yeah.
cool. This was great. Abe, thanks so much for being on here. What a pleasure. It's cool to get to know you a little that much more.
Just a little bit more. No, honestly, it was so much fun talking to you. Honestly, like always, of course. And of course, the pleasure was all mine to be on here. And yeah, this is cool doing a podcast. Like very hip.
Whew, that was a great session. Thank you, Abe, for spending your time with us and letting us get to know the inner workings of your magical mind. If anybody wants to follow Abe a little bit more, it's at AbePDX Taco on Instagram. And today's episode was brought to you by the Everything's Been Done Gear Shop. The Everything's Been Done Gear Shop has everything you could ever want ever. Shop the EBD Gear Shop. Thank you for tuning in. If you've made it this far, you are truly a true player. Much respect, and we will see you next week.